Hi, this is Dee at Aloha, Astro. We're looking at a new moon in the cardinal water sign of Cancer on July 17th, 2023. It will be taking place at 24 degrees for 56 minutes at 2:32 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's take a look at the forecast for this new moon. And I expect it's going to be emotionally intense for most people, because the moon does rule Cancer, so everybody's a bit more emotional when we're going through a moon in Cancer transit. New moon in Cancer, Monday, July 17th, offers the opportunity for change and transformation in the form of a spiritual rebirth, as the moon and the sun conjunct in Cancer oppose Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, while forming a minor grand trine aspect pattern with Uranus in Taurus and Neptune retrograde in Pisces, which is overlapped by a second minor grand trine consisting of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus to complete an energetically uplifting planetary geometry I call angel wings. These favorable aspects to the outer transpersonal planets call you to go deeper within to connect with your higher self so that you can transcend the turmoil of wrestling with desires and disappointments and the distraction of mental chatter, which Venus in Leo conjunct Mars in Virgo, square to Uranus and opposing Saturn retrograde in Pisces, as well as Mercury in Leo square to Jupiter in Taurus, are instigating. Past life regression, an uncovering of suppressed family history and dynamics, inner child work, shamanic soul retrieval, or rebirthing therapy may all be helpful tools for you, as Chiron, in self-aware and intrepid Aries in a T-square with Moon, Sun, and Pluto, places the responsibility for your well-being and empowerment on no one but you. The work of this new moon in Cancer is more about being and becoming, and not so much about doing and having. The best way to fill the empty hole of want and need is to find the place of peace and power within you. The reality of the 3D world will still require you to act, but you will no longer feel that it controls you when you see it from another dimension. So for those who've been asking, I have updated my tip tabs here. If you're feeling inclined to leave a tip after reading the forecast, I appreciate it very much. Let's take a look at what's going on in the sky, and we'll look at the Sabian symbol. So it's been busy, and it's been very mixed. Basically, the cosmic weather is a lot like the daily weather forecast where I live, where it's a mix of sun and clouds, and every day there's a 50% chance of thunderstorms. So it's kind of either or energy, and that's pretty much what we have going on astrologically in the sky right now. What seems to be creating the most tension and kind of niggling at you and pulling at you, and all of us really, are the faster moving planets, which are going to affect your immediate thoughts, moods, desires, the ego, the part of us that wants to identify with, I guess, what you would call 3D or lower level stuff, more ego stuff, is where we find most of the challenge. But if you look at the planets that these faster movers are interacting with, they are directing a lot of attention to, well, if you don't like something, figure out how to make it better, fix it. That basically this Chiron energy here in Aries is saying, if you are finding things to complain about and you want change, or you're not happy with current situations through the friction of those red lines you see, the squares to Uranus, the opposition to Saturn, which is a very reality-based planet. And while it's hanging out retrograde in Pisces, which really is the ocean of infinite possibilities, the idea of maybe would have, could have, should have is probably going to be coming up for you because we are approaching Venus going retrograde in Leo. And then I believe we also have a Mercury retrograde coming up not long after that. Let me just open up my book here and take a look at some days because I don't have it committed to memory. So we have the 23rd is the first full day that Venus is retrograde in Leo, and it's going to remain there until it stations direct on the 4th of September at 12 degrees of Leo. As it turns around, it will be at 28 degrees, so it's almost at the tail end there of Leo, inching toward Virgo, but then it's going to backtrack. And during its retrograde season, we will also have Mercury going retrograde on the 23rd of August and coming out of retrograde on the 14th, 15th, depending on where you live, of September. So there's going to be a time at the end of August, first week of September, where both of those planets are retrograde, and you may already be feeling and thinking along the lines of going back to something that, or going back to a time that was happier, or a place or a person, that some situation or condition that represented happiness to you, or where you felt that you received the attention you desire. Leo is a sign that loves attention, loves to play with others, thrives off of it. And we've got a lot of energy on this other side of the chart that is saying, you know, you don't need somebody else. Like, nobody else is going to give you what you need or want. You have to first find that within yourself. And that is what that T-square is saying. And it may be an uncomfortable or a hard truth, and it doesn't mean you can't have love or you can't enjoy relationships or have happy times and nice things in your life. But if they are that thing that you are always chasing and you always feel somehow disappointed when you get what you want and then you're off looking for the next thing, this lunation is really calling you to go deeper and find your connection to that bigger energy that you are. It's basically expressing through all of us as individuals, but it does join all of us, and we are all a part of that creative power or force. So this is one of those minor grand trines, this little blue triangle you see here with Uranus, the planet of change. And we've also got the second one here with Pluto, power, control, transformation, crisis, upheaval, Neptune, beauty, healing, inspiration, upliftment, as well as the shadow side, illusion or disappointment. However, there's a lot of support going on with Neptune. In fact, this is probably the least challenged planet right now in the sky, and Neptune, even though Neptune is retrograde right now, and retrogrades can be good for going back over things. If you've fallen off of some spiritual discipline or path or routine that has worked for you in the past or given you a sense of faith, peace, or comfort in your life, it may be a time to re-examine that and get back to it. Mindfulness, appreciation, and gratitude for the beauty that you see around you and for observing your connection to the all that is can actually do wonders and maybe even increase the good things in your life. Because when you're busy, you know, with a bee in your bonnet, feeling stressed and anxious, and I don't have what I want, how am I going to get what I want, all of the energy that's going on over here. Cancer's words are need and feed. Leo definitely quests and has a desire to have a lot of appetites fulfilled. And Virgo, well, it's kind of like the warrior of the zodiac in terms of is is everything working properly? How can I fix this? What's not working? What do I need to do to improve or make it better? And everything up here is saying if you go within, you will access that unique genius within you, the Uranian energy. You will tap into that higher spiritual power within you, and you will step into greater power or a feeling of control. So there's a sense of either coming back to a touch point or to home in some way. And maybe for some people, it will literally be on a material level. Maybe it is time to move back home. Maybe it is time to reunite with a lover. Maybe it is time to go back to school and complete something you wanted to do and never did. That may all be true on the material level, but it's more about a coming back into yourself and possibly a younger and earlier time and memory and knowing of your true purpose when you were younger or before the world beat you down or other people said you couldn't do such and such. Um, well, you're older and wiser now, and you're here listening to a forecast about astrology. You're interested in this, and you are wondering how these planets can be assisting you in becoming more and being more on purpose in your life. There is a yod in here, which I did not mention in my written forecast. Literally, the constraints of a lot of social media places keep me from doing that. So putting in more words than we'll actually allow. But we've got that Venus and Mars conjunction making this yod where we see these quincunxes to Pluto and Neptune. And in my opinion, this is saying, you know, God helps those who help themselves, whether you believe in God with a G or something else. But when you follow through on your desires and you're coming from a position that is both inspired and empowered, the doors will open up for you, or the way will be made clear, or you will find the energy and the stamina to go the next step and keep moving forward. And yes, there is an opposition in here that bisects that yod. And yeah, you know, the devil can be in the details, or you may be dealing with things like fatigue or looking at past failures and thinking, oh, but I can't. There are things in here that can overcome the negativity, such as two minor grand trines and what they create, which I often call, you know, angel wings, that we've got Neptune and Uranus at the shoulders of a pair of wings here, with the tips of the wings being that new moon, new beginnings, in a sign that does have to do with feeding and caring for and nurturing and the symbiosis of energy, whether it's energy between you and your maker and creator so that you become a co-creator, or it's the energy that you exchange with others and you transform the dynamics of it, so that you step outside of or above and beyond the conflict and restore the potential peace that is in Neptune. Neptune can bring the miracles, it can bring the peace, and the peace that passes understanding. So do not give up hope, do not lose faith, stay on purpose, but also watch for the signs, and then don't be afraid. There's shadow and light right now, and running and hiding is not going to help you or anybody else. Keep moving forward, and do be patient with yourself and other people in the meantime, because transformation, growth, and change are relatively messy. One aspect I also didn't write about, but which is incredibly supportive and powerful. Uranus has a free, oh, where is it? Jupiter. Jupiter has some energy of its own going on right now in a trine to Venus and Mars and a sextile to Saturn. And this basically says that if you're working toward growth or you're working to become more, and you put your heart and your attention to the details and your little small steps, you would eventually achieve the greater success. This is slow and moderate growth. This is not fast and sudden overnight success. This is more about being ready for it. Many times people fail when they are suddenly overwhelmed by the success or popularity or demands upon them that increase. And this is like going from a tricycle to a bike with training wheels to taking the training wheels off, that there's going to be some slow and steady progress, and that there has to be an accumulation of wisdom or even sympathy, empathy, and compassion for others because of that Saturn in Pisces, that when you can see things from another perspective, or when you have literally walked in somebody else's shoes and experienced what they've experienced, it will change how you view things. And then really, like, the nicer you become, or the more generous or supportive, probably the more things will work in your favor. But if you're simply doing good for the purpose of you want some quick karmic rewards, like if I do this, then I'll get that, that might not produce the same results, because it's really more about a spiritual understanding and awareness. So coming from the ego and from the empty hole, not so great, but coming from the higher, more inclusive, and the understanding and awareness of the connection to everything that is, which includes other people as well, you're going to enter into the flow, and that in turn will support you. So let's take a look at the Sabian symbol. We round up to 25 degrees because we're just at 24:56. And it's a very short one, actually. A willful man is overshadowed by a descent of superior power. The response of spiritual forces to the integration of personality through positive willful endeavors. We are dealing here with a man who uses his will and positive imagination in facing his life's problems. To him comes a Pentecostal descent of power. He receives the mantle of power, the grace, baraka in Sufi philosophy, or the providential assistance, or basically divine intervention, which can make him a true leader in his culture. In this fifth symbol, we witness a more transcendent expression of success. It is not merely external success, as is given by society to its prima donnas, but a spiritual response, a sign of inner strength and uncommon endowment. So that's pretty much what we just looked at. There is that higher level where if you're in alignment with that, you're going to have that mantle of power upon you. And then your will and determination, instead of being a struggle for something, is probably going to be producing for you in a more successful way. Or if you don't get what you want, you're not going to have a hissy fit over it. You're going to be able to say, well, there's probably a good reason for this, that my higher self or a greater power has decided that that's not for me. So I can rest in knowing that whatever is best for me is going to be there for me. So big stuff, definitely interesting. It's almost like the bigger the stuff is, the shorter the explanation of the Sabian symbol. And in many ways, things are right now. Very simple. Don't just look at the problem, but go within, because that's where all your solutions are. All right, that's it. Stay safe. I will be on an out of office hiatus at the end of this month. And if you are wanting to connect with me before then, this week ahead is the best time to be doing it. Take care.